Hey folks, welcome back. Kind of a muggy spring day out here in central Ontario, Canada, but despite the fact that winter just got over, I'm still thinking about it for next year. What I often do, even in the warm weather, is split firewood, because if you wait until the cold weather to split your firewood, you're going to be pretty cold. So I'm out here today, the Eastimate axis behind me. I've got my log deck ready to go. I just got to fill it up. That's where this thing comes into play. You might have seen this on previous videos. This is the Bauma the TRL 620D. This thing has a 24.5 horsepower Kubota diesel. This thing is a super fun piece of equipment to operate. If you've seen me taking it around before, you know that I control it with two controls there. One is going to control the boom, the other is going to control the forward and the backwards and the turning. Now I'll have this fired up in just a minute, and I'm going to be using the Martach grapple in order to pick up the logs. So you've seen this as well on the channel before. I've used this to move around logs in the red pine plantation. Today I'm going to move around some bigger hardwood logs. We've got a pile of hard maple here. We've also got some red oak from a tree that came down. We'll get some of these put up onto that log deck. Then we'll get them bucked to length and we'll get it through the splitter. Before you know it, I'll be en route to filling up another IBC cage. That's what we're up against today. One thing I really have to pay attention to, some of these trees here, well, they're a little questionable. As you can see, we've got some metal running through some of them. And so as soon as I fire that saw up, the chainsaw that is, some of you out there, make sure to remind me through the screen that I don't run my chainsaw through it. Anyways, let's get fired up. Here we go. Certainly going to be working quick today. The bugs are out in full force. Here it goes. Basically, the engine runs through a little check, preheats. She fires up. Let that warm up for a few minutes. Just before I go ahead and fire up the chainsaw and cut up those logs into rounds, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the mini skid steer. What I'm noticing that's different loading logs with it compared to loading logs with my tractor. Now, my tractor I have lots of experience with. It has a grapple as well. I can pick up logs, manipulate them. Great lift power on that, great lift power on this. But this thing has better visibility. I think that's a big difference with these mini skid steers. You can see the logs because you're nice and close to them. Whereas on a tractor, if you've ever tried to lift something up, even a log, a pallet, whatever, you're really doing a bunch of this. You're trying to see where things are because the loader is way up there. Now on that point about the weight being way up there, that's what I'm noticing that's different with this thing. The weight is right close to the central mass of the machine, so it acts a little bit different, throw in the fact that it has tracks, but it acts a little bit different than a tractor where the weight is way out front on the loader. Sometimes if you got a real heavy load on the loader and you don't have ballast or weight on the back of the tractor, you start to feel a bit of a lightness to the back end. This thing though, I don't feel that, and so that's a bit reassuring. Another thing I'm going to notice is the approach angle. You'll notice I'm coming in at a pretty sharp angle and I can do a quick 90-degree turn there and load up without trouble. That's something I definitely couldn't do with my tractor. My tractor needs a lot more space because it's very long, and well, it doesn't have the same steering. With this thing, I come in and I can essentially do one of those. The tractor would have to do a big wide sweeping turn, and even at that, I probably couldn't get squared up with the log deck from the first go. I'd probably try, and then I'd have to back up and square up again. Now, sometimes that's okay, sometimes it's not. In this case, this is just a little bit faster, both for loading as well as picking up logs. Now, although this one doesn't have it in particular, I know it's an option for this model. You can get a weight kit for these things. So if you're going to be lifting right at the maximum capacity all the time, you probably would look into that weight kit. If you're wondering how this grapple works, basically it hooks to the bomb light right here with these hydraulic connections. And then this device here looks like a big rod sticking up. It's actually got a spring on it. This allows the hydraulic lines not to drag on the ground. And you'll notice it's got spring to it, so that if you were to bump it into anything, it's not going to break off. It just moves out of the way. Now that grapple is controlled with this lever, and this lever has this position, neutral, and this position. So if you can imagine, it stays in neutral when you're not using the grapple, when you close it, when you open it. And so that's essentially what you're doing there, in addition to the two main joysticks, one being the boom control, one being the forward, reverse, side-to-side control. Well, folks, the rain is starting to set in for the afternoon. I thought I'd get a little bit more splitting done, but such is life. Taking a bit of a refuge inside the chop shop here, but unfortunately, every insect and their brother is in here with me, so we're going to be heading out of here in just a minute. One thing I want to point out to you, maybe some of you have seen these hanging in various buildings of mine. These, bugs are even going in my mouth. These paper wasp nests, the fake ones, are supposed to fend off the real ones. Well, I can tell with certainty now that is an absolute lie. Have a look up there. You see that paper wasp nest forming? That isn't the only one either. If you go over to my sawmill shed where I have these things as well, I've got wasp nests right beside them. With certainty, they don't work. Take them down. Anyways, this thing right here, as you saw a minute ago, we moved one of the pallets, one of the IBC cages of firewood. I am really liking this thing. One day I'll be super sad when this goes away. But for now, I'm really happy. If you couldn't tell by the grin from ear to ear, this thing is a lot of fun to drive. And the other thing is it lifts a ton of weight and it's very maneuverable. And so I like all those things about it. And as I said, one day when that thing goes on a trailer, heads back home, I will not be very happy. But today is not that day. Anyways, that's going to do it for me here today. Make sure you come back soon. I'm going to be continuing on with the splitting pile. The Axis will be getting another workout. And as always, if you haven't done so already, please send the bug spray. I'm just kidding. Please give it the old thumbs up. Please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.